what freedom feels like. It's the moment you stop pretending to give a damn about people who never gave one about you.
You want to know the difference between you and me? I stopped pretending. I stopped smiling when I wanted to scream. Stopped nodding when I wanted to walk away. Stopped pretending that your problems were mine to fix. I stopped caring. And you? You're still out there wearing that mask, playing the game, pretending like it doesn't drain you, like it doesn't eat you alive from the inside. You wake up every morning and put on that costume, the good friend, the reliable one, the person who always shows up. And for what? For people who wouldn't cross the street to save you? Here's the thing they don't tell you about caring. It's a trap. It's a beautiful, deadly trap that makes you think you're being noble, selfless, good. But really, you're just bleeding out slowly while everyone around you takes and takes and takes. And the moment you have nothing left to give, the moment you're empty, they look at you like you're broken, like you're the problem. What happened to you? You've changed. You're not the same person anymore. Damn right I changed. I woke up. I realized that caring about people who don't care back is just self-destruction, with better PR. You know what your problem is? You still believe that if you care enough, love enough, give enough, they'll finally see your worth. But let me shatter that illusion for you. They already see it. They just don't value it. You're not invisible. You're just convenient. You're the person they call at 2 a.m. when their world is falling apart, but somehow never make time for when the sun's shining. You're the shoulder they cry on, the bank they withdraw from, the therapist they never pay. And you keep showing up. Keep caring. Keep pretending it doesn't hurt when they forget your birthday. Ignore your messages. Cancel plans last minute. You pretend it's fine. You pretend you understand. You pretend you're not drowning in a sea of one-sided relationships. That's the difference between you and me. I stopped pretending it was okay. I stopped making excuses for people who never even bothered to explain themselves to me. You're still in prison, and you don't even see the bars. You've convinced yourself that caring is noble, that loyalty means suffering in silence, that real love means accepting scraps. But it's not noble. It's suicide. Slow, painful, socially acceptable suicide. You're killing yourself trying to keep people in your life who are already halfway out the door. You're performing emotional CPR on relationships that flatlined years ago. And for what? So you don't have to face the terrifying truth that maybe, just maybe, you've been wasting your love on people who were never worthy of it. I remember the exact moment I stopped caring. It wasn't dramatic. No big confrontation. No explosive fight. It was quiet, cold, final. I was sitting there listening to someone complain about the same problem for the 100th time, a problem they had zero intention of fixing. And I realized they don't want my advice. They want my attention. They don't want to change. They want an audience. And I'd been playing that role for so long, I forgot I could just leave the stage. So I did. I stopped responding with the same energy. Stopped investing in people who saw me as an investment. Stopped caring about being seen as the good one. And you want to know what happened? Nothing. Nobody fought for me. Nobody asked what was wrong. Nobody noticed I'd stopped showing up emotionally until they needed something again. That's when it hit me. I was never a person to them. I was a function. I was the friend who listens. The one who helps, the one who cares. And the moment I stopped performing that function, I became irrelevant. That should have broken me, but instead, it freed me, because I finally understood. You can't lose people who never really had you. You can't be betrayed by people you were never truly connected to. I wasn't losing friends. I was shedding weight. The weight of freedom. When you stop caring, something shifts. The world doesn't end. The sky doesn't fall. People don't suddenly realize they lost someone special. Life just continues. But you feel lighter. Like you've been carrying a backpack full of rocks and finally realized you could just take it off. All those people you worried about, they're fine. They moved on, found someone else to drain, someone else to use, and that should hurt, right? That should make you feel worthless. But it doesn't, because for the first time in your life you realize their inability to value you says nothing about your worth. It says everything about their capacity, their depth, their character. You were offering gold to people shopping for plastic, and when they didn't recognize the value, you thought you were the problem. But you weren't too much. You weren't too intense. You weren't too emotional. You were just too real for people living in fake. And now that you've stopped caring, now that you've stopped trying to convince them of your worth, you're dangerous. Not because you're bitter, not because you're angry, but because you're free. Free from the need to be validated. Free from the chains of one-sided loyalty. Free from the exhausting performance of pretending to be okay with being treated like you're optional. The illusion shatters. You're probably sitting there thinking, but that's so cold. That's so heartless. Good. Let me be heartless. Let me be cold. Because you know what's truly heartless? Watching someone give everything and taking it all without a second thought. You know what's cold? Using someone's kindness as a weakness to exploit. I didn't become heartless. I just stopped giving my heart to people who were only interested in breaking it. There's a difference. See, you still think caring is the default, that you owe people your energy, your time, your emotional labor, just because they exist in your orbit. But you don't. You don't owe anyone your care. You don't owe anyone your loyalty. You don't owe anyone a front row seat to your life. Those things, they're earned. And most people, they haven't earned a damn thing. They want the benefits of having someone who cares without doing any of the work to deserve it. They want your light but refuse to stop standing in shadows. And you've been letting them. You've been giving them access they never earned, loyalty they never reciprocated, love they never valued. That stops now. Or at least it should. But you're still holding on, aren't you? Still hoping that if you just care a little more, love a little harder, they'll finally wake up and see you. They won't. They'll just keep taking until there's nothing left. And when you're empty, when you're broken, when you finally can't give anymore, they'll call you the problem. Let me tell you something about not caring that nobody wants to admit. It's powerful. When you stop caring what people think, you become unpredictable. When you stop caring who stays, you become unstoppable. When you stop caring who understands, you become unbreakable. Because caring was your weakness. It was the hook they used to control you, manipulate you, keep you in line. If you really cared, a real friend would. If you loved me, those manipulations only work on people who care. And the moment you stop, the power shifts. Suddenly they can't guilt you, can't manipulate you, can't make you feel bad for having boundaries. You're not being mean. You're not being cruel. You're just being done. Done with the games. Done with the tests. Done with proving yourself to people who should have seen your value from day one. And they hate it. They hate that they can't pull you back in with fake apologies and empty promises. They hate that you're not begging for their attention anymore. They hate that you've finally realized you're the prize, not them. So they'll try to paint you as the villain. They'll tell stories about how you changed, how you became cold, how you're not the person they knew. Perfect. Let them tell those stories. Let them rewrite history. Because while they're busy talking about you, you're busy building a life they'll never have access to again. The difference is clarity. The difference between you and me isn't that I don't feel. It's that I feel clearly now. I used to confuse caring with obligation, love with suffering, loyalty with self-destruction, but not anymore. Now I care about people who care back. I invest in relationships that are mutual. I give my energy to those who've proven they deserve it. That's not heartless. That's smart. You're still out there caring about everyone, helping everyone, being there for everyone, and nobody's there for you. You're still making yourself available to people who only call when they need something. Still showing up for people who wouldn't show up for your funeral. And you call that loyalty? I call it delusion. You're loyal to an idea of who you think they are, not who they've actually shown themselves to be. You're in love with potential, not reality. And potential without action is just fantasy. I stopped living in fantasy. I started living in truth. And the truth is brutal. Most people are takers. Most people are users. Most people will drain you dry and feel no remorse. That's not cynicism. That's observation. Once you stop pretending and start observing, you see patterns. You see the people who only call when they're bored, the ones who only check in when they need something, the ones who love you conditionally. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. That's the moment you stop caring, not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. When I stopped pretending to care, I didn't become a monster. I became free. Free from the exhausting performance of being everyone's hero. Free from the weight of carrying people who refuse to walk on their own. And you know what's funny? The people who called me heartless, cold, changed, those were the same people who never once asked if I was okay. They noticed I stopped caring about them, but they never cared enough to notice I was drowning. That tells you everything. They didn't miss me. They missed what I did for them. They missed the version of me that was convenient, compliant, always available. They missed their emotional support animal, not their friend. And good riddance. Because I'd rather walk alone with my dignity than walk in a crowd that treats me like I'm disposable. I'd rather have silence than fake conversations. I'd rather have solitude than surrounded by people who make me feel alone. That's the difference between you and me. You're still afraid of being alone. Still clinging to people who don't deserve you because the alternative seems scarier. But I've been alone. I've sat in that silence. I've faced that fear. And you know what I found? Peace. Real, genuine, unshakable peace. The kind you can't find in a room full of fake people. The kind that only comes when you stop pretending and start protecting your energy. So here's the final truth, the one you need to hear. Caring about the wrong people is self-harm disguised as virtue. You're not noble for sacrificing yourself. You're not loyal for tolerating disrespect. You're not strong for carrying people who refuse to stand. You're just scared. Scared of being alone. Scared of being seen as the bad guy. Scared of facing the reality that maybe you've been giving your love to people who were never capable of loving you back. But fear is a liar. Being alone isn't the worst thing that can happen to you. Being surrounded by people who make you feel alone, that's the worst thing. And the moment you stop caring about people who don't care about you, that's not when you lose yourself. That's when you find yourself. You find your boundaries, your self-respect, your standards, your peace. You stop being everyone's savior and start being your own. And yeah, people will judge you. They'll call you selfish, heartless, cold. Let them. Those are the words of people who benefited from your self-destruction. Of course, they're mad you stopped destroying yourself for them. But their opinion isn't your reality. Your reality is this. You deserve to be cared for with the same intensity you care for others. And if people can't meet that standard, they don't deserve access to you. The difference between you and me is simple. You're still pretending, still performing, still hoping that if you care enough, they'll finally care back. And me? I stopped pretending. I stopped caring. And I started living. Not in bitterness, not in anger, but in truth. Cold, raw, liberating truth. I don't hate them. I don't wish them harm. I just don't care anymore. And that's not heartless. That's healing. That's growth. That's freedom. So the question isn't what happened to you. The question is, when are you going to stop pretending to? When are you going to stop giving your heart to people who treat it like it's trash? When are you going to realize that not caring about the wrong people is the most caring thing you can do for yourself? When are you going to choose you? Because the difference between you and me isn't that I stopped caring. It's that I finally started caring about the right person, myself. And once you do the same, everything changes. You stop chasing, stop explaining, stop breaking yourself into pieces, trying to fix people who don't want to be fixed. You become whole, focused, unstoppable. You become the version of yourself that doesn't need anyone who doesn't need you back. And that version, that's the one who wins. Not by being heartless, but by being smart enough to protect their heart from people who were never worthy of holding it.